Hello, and welcome to this week's edition of Spotlight Morris County, the program that brings you news and information from the greater Morris County area. Students at CCM, members of the community, people doing good things. I'm your host, Daniil Barkov, and our guest today is Professor James Hart. Professor Hart is the chairman of Department of Languages and ESL here at County College of Morris. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much for having me, Daniil.
Why study another language? Can you go in depth and explain to us what are some of the benefits of it?
The first major benefit of studying a foreign language is that it opens up communities that maybe you wouldn't have access to if you didn't speak that language. And in today's world, that's becoming increasingly more diverse in our particular country, and in a world that's becoming more interconnected because of technology. Foreign language skills, and by extension, cultural skills, which are the other component of a foreign language classroom, are going to be increasingly necessary for students to be able to interact effectively in their adult and professional lives.
hmm I understand CCM offers a vast majority of languages. Can you explain to us some of these languages that we offer here at CCM?
Yes, we offer the 12 languages at County College of Morris, the basic French, Spanish, Italian, German, but we also offer Chinese and Japanese, Arabic and Hebrew. We offer Latin, Portuguese, Russian, and American Sign Language.
Mhm. Now, for students who are basically not from this country and have moved here from other countries, do you offer any programs for them or any ways for them to learn other languages or those same languages that they already know?
We do offer an English as a second language program for students who come from countries where the native language is not English and they do want to learn English. Those students are also available to take any of the other 12 languages that I just listed there as well.
Mhm.
So those classes are open up to the entire campus community and really the community at large. I mean, we welcome anybody from Morris County to come in and explore foreign language of his or her interest. We offer classes in the evening, in the morning, and in the afternoon to try and accommodate a number of different schedules that students may have.
Mhm. Also, another question. Are there many students who are older in age that take other languages, like aside from like young kids as myself, but
Mhm.
adults? Are there any people that want to learn any other languages?
Yeah, there are. In fact, I mean, the vast majority of our students are traditional college age students, but certainly we do have a lot of older students who are pursuing associate's degrees, and they need the language courses to fulfill foreign language requirements in whatever degree they're pursuing here at CCM. But yes, we do have individuals who come to us from the community because they either have a need or an interest in learning a language. In Morris County, we do have a lot of companies that are uh, not from the United States. We
Mhm.
have a lot of countries that come from France or Germany, and a lot of these administrations of these companies are in those countries. And so some people come to us because they want to know a little bit of German or a little bit of French to help them at their work.
Mhm. Now, I understand we also offer a study abroad program.
That's correct.
Now, I personally do not know anything about the study abroad program. Could you please explain how one would get involved in the study abroad program, and then where specifically some students may be able to go for the study abroad program?
So the first step in applying to the study abroad program is starting well in advance. So if a student is planning on studying abroad in the spring, for example, then he or she should probably see me probably sometime over the summer before. I am the study abroad advisor here at CCM, and so that person then would come to me, and we begin a very, very kind of top-line discussion about what the student's goals and objectives are for studying abroad and what kind of study abroad program might be appropriate for that particular student. At that point, I usually show students the consortium website. And what that means basically is that here at CCM, we don't have our own homegrown study abroad program at the moment. Instead, we allow our students access to study abroad programs through a consortium. And the name of that consortium is the College Consortium for International Studies. And so after the student comes to me and I have that top-line discussion with that student, I refer them to the consortium webpage, and they can either go through the destination countries themselves, or the student can come to me and we can go through it together, and we can talk about the countries that the students are interested in, the kinds of programs and experiences the students is interested in. And then once we've kind of narrowed it down to one, maybe two, but I don't really recommend two, because then it'd be two separate applications. You have to apply to each program separately. You can't submit one application to a number of different programs, even though it's only one consortium. And after we narrow it down to one program, then from that point on, really act as a liaison and a facilitator between the student and the consortium, and I help them apply to that institution that houses the program that they're interested in. And also the reason why I say the student should start relatively early is because some of these countries that the students go to, they may have visa requirements, and that might perhaps require a student to go into New York City to a consulate. Some students need time to get their passports, and that could be weeks of waiting for appointments or waiting for documents to come in. But we do offer a number of programs. At the current time, we offer programs through the consortium in 28 countries.
Oh, wow.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
So, and each country could have as many as 4 or 5 or more programs. So you're talking about hundreds of programs that students have access to. And they range from Spain and Italy to England, Morocco, South Africa, Argentina. These are some examples of countries that the consortium has programs in, and the students can therefore access these programs through me and through the consortium. And right now we have 2 students in Japan and 1 student in Ireland. Australia is a very popular country. We've had numerous students over the past several years going to Australia. The other countries are Italy and England that the students have gone to. So
I was actually about to ask which one are some of the more popular countries.
Australia.
Australia?
Everybody wants to go to Australia.
That's actually where I want to visit as well. So hopefully I can apply there as well. But would you recommend anywhere else to go? Any more less known areas that have been interesting? Some students at least have said that they enjoyed.
I would consider Japan.
Yes, that was my second option as well. Yep.
I would consider Japan a good option for students who want a destination that's not the typical European destination. The students who have gone on the program through us to Japan have really enjoyed their experiences, and I think it really exposes you to a non-Western culture in a very gentle and informative and educational way. So I would highly encourage that, getting to know of a non-Western culture.
Now, one more question. I was a little bit confused. So when students do go abroad in these programs, do they don't go as a class? It's not several students. It's one student that applies singly for themselves, correct?
Correct. So the student would apply to, let's say, they wanted to go to Italy. So Italy is run through the city of New York, Staten Island, City College of New York, Staten Island. And their institution in Italy is the Lorenzo de' Medici Institute in Italy. So the student would be applying to CUNY Staten Island, and then the consortium basically allows the student to circumvent the normal admissions process to that particular university and apply directly to their study abroad program. And then they would be a CUNY Staten Island student while still maintaining their matriculation at CCM, and then being sent abroad by CUNY to Lorenzo de' Medici. Now, to answer your question specifically, so that means that the CCM student would be one of many students from across the country applying to CUNY Staten Island, to the Lorenzo de' Medici program, and that student would be sent abroad as part of a cohort with students from all over the country going to Lorenzo de' Medici in Florence through Staten Island.
Okay, that clears it up. Thank you.
So, I mean, you could apply with your fellow students. I mean, I think it'd be a great idea to have 2 or 3 of you apply to the same program.
That would definitely be interesting to go with a couple more people, yes.
Yeah.
Now we're going to take a quick break. Please stay tuned. We'll be back in a moment.
Not all County College of Morris students look like me.
Some look like me.
Or me.
Or me.
Or me.
We all come to CCM at different stages of life.
And for different reasons.
I plan to transfer to a university.
I'm training for a new career as a nurse.
But we all know one thing.
CCM is where we want to be.
So check out the website.
Check out the website.
Check out the website.
And let CCM connect learning and your life.
Welcome back to Spotlight Morris County. I'm Daniil Barkov. We are here with Professor James Hart. Now, Professor, how did you get interested in language? And like, where did it begin? Did you study it in college, or did it come like at a later point in life?
It actually came pretty early. So in middle school, we were expected to choose one of 3 foreign languages to study, French, Spanish, or German. And at first, I chose French, actually. And then at the last minute, I changed it to Spanish. And it was a good thing that I did, because I ended up going to my first couple of Spanish classes in 7th grade. And it just clicked, and I loved it, and I thought it was fascinating the way language worked and how Spanish encoded things differently than English, and the structure of the words and the syntax and the vocabulary. It completely fascinated me, and I fell in love with it 100%. It also opened, I'd always been interested in other cultures and traveling, so it really matched very well with, even at that time, I was very interested in, Italy and Europe and other countries around the world, and India. I remember at the library always going to the section where all the, all the juvenile nonfiction books are, or the different countries and stuff like that. And I'd always go to that section. So it really clicked. Everything kind of clicked together that 1 or 2 years of middle school. And I just really fell in love, and I kept wanting to learn more and more about other languages. And so when I could in high school, I started taking French, and then after French, I started taking Latin as well. And then I kind of tapped out my schedule at that point. So yeah, and from there, I decided in college to pursue Spanish, which was my major. I was in the School of International Service at American University. And I majored in Spanish and Latin American area studies. And after that, I continued to really love Spanish and language in general, and I wanted to do something more with the language itself. And so in grad school, I did applied linguistics, which is the study of language and its structure as a whole, not just one specific language. And it just, the love keeps going. So.
Now, how many languages do you speak?
English and Spanish are the 2 strongest languages that I speak. After that, I speak French relatively, maybe at an intermediate level, and then I know Italian pretty decently, and then bits and pieces of Russian here and there. I know more or less how to write it, and I can kind of sound out a lot of the words, but it's been many years since I've taken those classes. So I'd love to brush up at one point.
I'm in the same
boat
boat
and
as
add
you
more
with
to
Russian.
add more. Oh, so yes, you speak Russian as well, So
Writing's not my strong suit, however, though. Now, have you traveled to a lot of places, like different countries, areas?
I have done some traveling, both for pleasure and for work. I did work in Europe very briefly. I did a summer program at a school in England for a couple of summers. And then after that, I did travel around Europe a little bit just for pleasure, and I got to know a little bit of, France, Italy, Germany a little bit. I remember part of that trip. And actually going a little bit back before that, I did participate in the Spain exchange program when I was in high school, and that was a fascinating experience, and I loved every moment of it. And in college, I did study abroad. I did go to South America. I went to Chile for a semester, and I went to university there, and I lived with a family. And it was a fantastic experience. So, and then now, as a professional, when I travel, I try to always kind of focus in on Spanish-speaking countries, just because it's my specialization, not because I think they're. I mean, I do love these countries, and I do love Spain, and I just recently came back from Argentina, which was a fantastic trip. But I try to go to these countries so I can keep up my language and bring back materials and. get to know the cultures a little bit better.
Now, this might be kind of a weird question, but what is your favorite place to visit, like if you have one, or that's left like a very big impression on you?
Gosh, that's a really difficult question, and of course it's going to be different for everybody. It's so hard to choose. I guess it's just because at the top of my mind, I have to say Argentina, because I was just there recently. I spent some time with friends in Buenos Aires and also Patagonia. And the Patagonia region of South America is, for me, a very unique and beautiful place, and very rich in culture and history, and food is delicious, and warm people. And so that right now I would have to say. If you asked me a couple of years ago, it might have been a different answer, but the area of the Andes, right in Patagonia on the Argentinian side, have left really strong and positive impressions. And particularly anybody who's interested in outdoors and adventure, it's a wonderful place to visit and practice Spanish.
Okay, I think I might have to visit then, because I do like the outdoors and I do need to practice my Spanish. Now, how long have you been teaching at CCM, if you don't mind me asking?
Not at all. I was hired in 2008, so this is my 9th year.
Is this the first school that you've taught at, or have you taught anywhere else?
I have taught at previous colleges on a part-time basis. I did teach at in an ESL summer program at Manhattan College, and I did that for a summer. And yeah, that's the only other institution besides CCM that I've taught at. College, higher education institution. But I have taught at other schools before. The place in England that I mentioned, that was more of it was a secondary school, private secondary school, is where I taught. And I had done private tutoring, and I'd worked for proprietary language schools before that, here and there.
Now, did you live in England? Well, like you were teaching there. Was this like how long did you live there while you were teaching?
Not long. It was a summer program.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was a summer program. So I would live there over the summers and teach ESL actually in England, which was very interesting and fun. And the students from all over the world would come, and it was a really nice group of students, and it allowed us the opportunity not just to teach the language itself, but also it allowed us the opportunity to teach students from very different backgrounds on how to get along very well with each other in the classroom, outside of the classroom, doing activities. They had to do sport every day, and they had to participate in recreational activities on the weekends and in the afternoons and stuff like that. So it was a really great opportunity, really, to allow the students to grow, and we liked seeing the students make friends, just with each other, despite whatever perceived differences there might have been on the surface.
Now, if you had to give any recommendations to like students such as myself about learning a language, what language do you recommend that we learn for our future, and why is it important, do you believe, for us to learn it?
Well, first of all, language learning in general is the first piece of advice I give students about not just a specific language, but language in general, is simply don't be afraid of it. So, so many times in my classes, students hesitate to speak, and I always tell them, you're not going to break Spanish. You're not going to offend me. You're not going to offend the people around you. You can't become proficient in the language if you don't practice it, and you're inevitably going to make mistakes. And so, but it's better to speak and make the mistake and correct it than not speak at all, because you're never going to get that fluency. So no fear, right? The second thing is always look for patterns. And I know this isn't exactly your question, but I have to say this.
Oh, yeah, of
The
course.
language learning is all about the patterns that you observe. So when you're learning a language, look for commonalities among words, the way they change, look for repetitions, look for connections, and that's going to help you learn the language much more quickly and effectively. So to your question, so I would say that's very particular to the student. Somebody who's interested in, somebody who is a music major, for example. and wants to take a humanities class, I would suggest maybe Italian or French, because these are languages that have had a huge influence in the field of music. I mean, English, and there are many other languages, but just off the top of my head, I would suggest those languages. If you're interested in engineering and you want to study abroad in Germany, I would maybe perhaps suggest German. If you just want to go into international business in general, the two languages that I come to mind are Portuguese and Chinese, Mandarin, because these, at least particularly in China, this is a developing economy, and the need for people who speak Mandarin is going to continue to rise, and I would definitely suggest that as well. Spanish, of course.
Yes.
Oh, I mean, always.
Yeah.
I always tell students Spanish because this is the language that has a large number of speakers all across the world, and speakers of Spanish are our neighbors to the south, and also our neighbors here in Morris County. So this is a language that is extraordinarily and almost immediately applicable here in the United States and in New Jersey to connect to these different communities, and which is of course very important, you know, for business, but also just to be a good neighbor, or you know, just to participate in your community, you know. So those are the languages that I would suggest. Yeah, definitely Mandarin, Portuguese, Spanish, and then whatever your major is, we can talk about that. Come to my office hours.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Now we're going to take a quick break. Please stay tuned. We'll be back in a moment.
Not all County College of Morris students look like me.
Some look like me.
Or me. Or me.
Or me.
We all come to CCM at different stages of life.
And for different reasons.
I plan to transfer to a university.
I'm training for a new career as a nurse.
But we all know one thing.
CCM is where we want to be.
So check out the website
Check out the website.
Check out the website.
and let CCM connect learning and your life.
Welcome back to Spotlight Morris County. I'm Daniil Barkov. Now we're going to showcase a musical segment produced by students in CCM's broadcasting program. to thank Professor James Hart for joining us today. This has been another edition of Spotlight Morris County, and we'll see you next time.